Okay, here we have question 10 from October-November 2012, paper 4, variant 2. A question about number patterns and, well, sequences almost, you could say some part of it. Now, basically over here we have kind of a strange type of question, which they do sometimes give, especially the last question on the paper 4. Anyway, we're told that consecutive integers are set out in rows in a grid. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this particular one stops at 5, then it starts the next row 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 5 columns. So this grid has 5 columns, and there's certain parts of the grids which have been shaded in, okay, in this pattern here, like these 5 squares, and 13 is right in the middle of them. So the shape drawn encloses 5 numbers, 7, 9, 13, 17, and 19. This is the n equals 13 shape. Okay, that's because n is right in the middle here. In this shape, A is 7, B is 9, C is 17, and D is 19. Okay, and of course n is 13. Now, we want to calculate BC minus AD. BC, well, B is 9. Okay, that's going to be 9 times C, which is 17, minus A times D, which is 7 times 19. So calculate the value of that for this particular shape, and that's going to be 9 times 17 minus 7 times 19. Okay, which gives us 20. So the answer to part 1 is 20. Okay, then it says for the 5-column grid, which is this grid here, 5-column grid, it says that A is n minus 6. So A is n minus 6. So A is 6 less than n. You can see that 13 minus 6 gives us 7. Okay, so it's asking us to write down B, C, and D in terms of n for this grid. So if you look at B, which is over here, you can see B is 4 less than 13. So that means B is equal to whatever n is minus 4. And if you look at C, which is this position here, C is 4 more than 13. So C is going to be n plus 4, whatever n is plus 4. And you can see D is 19, whereas n is 13. So it's 6 more than 13. So this D must be 6 more than n plus 6. Okay, so those are the values we need. I wrote it up there because we can see the grid. So B equals n minus 4. So B is n minus 4, C was n plus 4, and D was n plus 6. Okay, just make sure in case I made a mistake. Minus 4 plus 4 plus 6. Right. Okay, so that's part 2 done. Then it says write down BC minus AD in terms of n. So we've got to take these values, A, B, C, and D, and write them down in this kind of like in this form. Okay, so B times C is n minus 4 times n plus 4. N minus 4 times n plus 4. Okay, that's B, that's C. Minus A times D, that's n minus 6 times n plus 6. Okay. Alright, so that gives you n squared. Now this is the difference of 2 squares, so it's going to become minus 16. You see they're going to have plus 4n and minus 4n cancelling out. Minus, now be very careful when you have a minus before a bracket to expand. Keep the bracket there and expand. So you have n squared, and again it's the difference of squares. So you're going to have the minus 6n and the plus 6n cancelling out, so you're going to get minus 36. 6 times 6, 36. So now we can say that you've got n squared minus 16 minus n squared and plus 36. So n squared minus n squared gives you 0. Minus 16 plus 36 gives you 20. So we've shown that it simplifies to 20, all the n terms disappear. Okay, so there we have part 3 done. Okay, now for part B, that was part A finished. Now part B. It says this grid has 6 columns. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It starts from 7 in the next column. So there's 6 columns. And the shape is drawn for n equals 10, where 10 is in the middle of these numbers. Okay, so calculate the value of BC minus AD for n equals 10. So remember, B is this number here, and C is this number, A is that number, and that number. So you've got BC, so it's 5 times 15. 5 times 15. Okay, we could write down here A is equal to 3, B is equal to 5, and C is equal to 15, and D is equal to 17. Okay, just taking them from these places here. So B times C, 5 times 15 minus, and you're going to have A times D. A times D, 3 times 17. Okay, and what will that give us? 5 times 15 minus 3 times 17. Okay, which gives you 24. Okay, so when you have 6 columns, it looks like BC minus AD is 24. Without simplifying, write down BC minus AD in terms of n for this grid. So you can see in terms of n, you've got A, B, C, and D. Now, 3 here is in place of A, which is 7 less than n. So A is n minus 7. And you'll notice that the one on the opposite side of it in the diagonal is going to be the same number above that. Okay, so that's going to be D. That's n plus 7. There's like a pattern there. Okay, and this number is 5 less than 10, and this number is 5 more than 10. So B is n minus 5, and C is n plus 5. It's like a pattern we can see. Okay, so we have to, without simplifying, write down BC minus AD. So n minus 5 times n plus 5 minus n minus 7 times n plus 7. Okay, that's the answer for part B, part 2. Now part C, this grid has 7 columns, so you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then you're going to start from 8. Okay, show clearly that BC minus AD equals 28 for n equals 17. So we're going to take this as 17. That's your n. So this will be your A, this will be your B, this will be your C, and this will be your D. Okay, so BC, okay, so you have A is 9, and B is 11, and C is 23, and D is 25. Okay, so BC, so 11 times 23, minus AD, which is 9 times 25. Okay, so we have here now 11 times 23, 11 times 23 minus 9 times 25, which gives us 28. Okay, and so we've shown that here clearly. That's going to give us 28. Okay, so now that's the end of those questions here. Now we're going to do part D, which is actually the question that the student asked in the first place. However, of course, we can't do just D on its own. If I look at this, I won't know what it means until I've done the questions before it. So it says, write down the value of BC minus AD when there are T columns in the grid. Okay, T columns in the grid. Okay, so now let's go back to the beginning when we saw the first one. We had 5 columns in the grid, and the value of AD minus BC, BC minus AD was 20. And the 5 columns, it's 20. Okay, all right, that's what we found for that. So we had the number of columns as 5. Okay, the sum of AD minus BC was 20. Okay, let's go back and see. When there were 6 columns, the BC minus AD is 24. So 6 columns, you get 24 for BC minus AD. And we also worked out for 7 columns, it was 28. Go back here. We worked out, in fact they told us that when we have this 7 columns, n equals 17 here, in the 7 columns, it's going to be 28. So from this we can realize a pattern, that this is the number of columns, and this is the sum of BC minus AD. And you'll notice that each of these numbers, if you multiply by 4, you'll get the value of BC minus AD. So if there are T columns, that's going to be times 4, which is 4T. T. So that is that. So it says write down. So it's basically they expect you to spot that pattern, and then you get the answer. And it says find the values of CD and BC minus AD for this shape. Now we've got to try and figure out how to deal with this. You could do this in a couple of ways. First of all, let's find what C and D are. Okay. 1 second. Okay, so C and D. Okay, so what we could do here is we could work out that the pattern that we noticed earlier, that the number over here, which is 12 less than 16 in this case, okay, the number on this position must be the same number above that. So we can say C is therefore going to be 16 plus 12. So C is 28. And D, well, we know that this number is 14 less than 16, so D must be 14 more than 16. 16 plus 14. 16 plus 14. So D is equal to 30. Now BC minus AD, I could find it by just using, this is B, we've got A is equal to 2, and B is equal to 4, and C is equal to 28 and D equals 30, and we could do B times C minus A times D. However, there's a quicker way of doing it, and that is by using the fact that this, you can work out how many columns that this has, because of course it starts from 1. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it continues on to a certain number, and then the next number is written here. So we can deduce what that number is. That's 16. This must be 15. So this must be 14. Okay, so that means the last number of this row must be 13. Let's go all the way up to 13. So that means there's 13 rows. So if there's 13 rows, 13 times 4 will tell us the value of BC minus AD, and that's 52. Okay, so we know that this is equal to 52. That's a quick way of doing it. If you want to do it the longer way, you can still do that. You can say, okay, I know A is 2, B is 4, C is 28, D is 30. So you can say, okay, BC, so it's 4 times 28. 4 times 28 minus AD, which is going to give you 2 times 30. Okay, and let's see what that gives us. 4 times 28 minus 2 times 30, which gives you 52, exactly what we found earlier. Okay, so there we have 2 different ways of doing this particular last part of the question, and I think that was the rest, that was the whole of that question and the end of this paper. Okay, thank you for watching.